Peter Ndoro and Asanda Beda are here to help you rise and shine. Weekdays, 6 till 9 a.m. Central African Time. Only on Channel Africa.
Kenyans are preparing to hold protests today, marking 1 year since last year's deadly finance bill demonstrations. 12 foreign envoys have urged the government to respect peaceful protests and condemn the use of masked police and hired goons. Kenya's Foreign Affairs Principal Secretary, Dr. Korir Sing'Oei, responded by warning against any misuse of the protests. For more, we now connect with Channel Africa's Nairobi correspondent, Kiarie. Alex, how are you on this Wednesday? Good morning.
Good morning, this chilly Wednesday morning in Nairobi. Hope everything is okay over there.
Oh, well, that makes both of us. In Johannesburg, it's chilly as well. But what is the mood like there in Nairobi? Are protesters gathering already?
Not really. Just walking up to empty streets. Police have cordoned off streets that lead to the central business district of Nairobi. And earlier on, while heading to work, to the office this morning, I came across tens of military tanks rolling into the city, probably heading towards Parliament and State House, where protesters have pledged to occupy. So far today, as we start off our broadcast over here, the streets of Nairobi are completely empty, and so far no protesters in sight, but police are patrolling the streets.
What are some of those key hotspots that police are patrolling and they are cordoning off? You mentioned Parliament.
Yes, Parliament buildings and also the offices along Harambe Avenue. And State House is also one of those key areas that are being protected. And remember that yesterday, the Inspector General of Police had pledged to provide security to protesters. But at the same time, he also warned them against moving or occupying protected areas. And so far, it seems like this is what has inspired the current security protocols, which have seen all roads leading to the city cordoned off and sealed. So very few people actually accessing the town, although we understand that there's some protesters who spent the night within the city center. So that's where we expect things to get hot later on in the day. And mostly, as you're aware, most protests usually in Kenya pick up from around 11 p.m. local time or East African time. Sanda.
Yesterday, it emerged with one of the chats we had here on Rise and Shine with a journalist, Dennis, that there is another blogger who's been reported to have gone missing under police custody. No word has come out in terms of what's his status right now. What is going on with that part of the story as far as protesters wanting to join for the call for investigations into his disappearance as well, or are protesters not touching on that one yet?
Actually, the disappearances of, I think there are now two bloggers. One who was picked up from the coastal city of Mombasa last evening at around 8 p.m. And the one who also disappeared last Friday are some of the issues that are now aggravating the protests. And that aside, another report came in yesterday that another suspect died in a prison, in custody, in police custody in the central part of Kenya.
Wow.
So these are all things that are making the whole young people, the Gen Zs, rise up and say that they really want to have some change and ensure that there is accountability from the police, so that these issues to do with extrajudicial killings, arrests without any court warrants and such are all handled, and that the police and security agencies do follow due protocol as stipulated in the law of Kenya.
What's the response been in terms of the government and authorities? We know the word from the Kenya's Foreign Affairs Principal Secretary, Dr. Korir Sing'Oei, saying that they're warning against the misuse of protests. First of all, what does that mean? Is that understood in terms of what is the misuse of protests and how is this defined? And also, what is what are the other sentiments and responses from other government officials and authorities?
Actually, beyond the statement by the PS Sing'Oei, there is another statement that came up yesterday from the Parliamentary Committee in charge of Foreign Affairs, which seemed to condemn the foreign embassies that had already lent the voices on the issues to do with extrajudicial killings and breaking up of protests as opposed to the law of Kenya. The president also spoke about the impending protest yesterday, and he did seem to be siding with the police. He indicated that he does support the police work. The minister in charge of internal security also did compare Kenya's protest alignments with what happens in foreign countries, especially in the US, where he did indicate that anybody who insinuates or indicates that they're willing or that they would like to invade or rather occupy State House or White House or 10 Downing Street are usually arrested even before they attempt to do so. So he was in a way justifying the actions of the police. And at the same time, the Foreign Affairs PS and also the chairman of the Parliamentary Committee in charge of Foreign Affairs seemed to be telling the foreign or international community to keep off Kenyan affairs, which has in itself aggravated and angered so many Kenyans, and especially the social media users and those who are planning the Gen Z protests today. So it is just a way of reminding them that we have the laws that are not being followed, and that the people behind breaking of this law and the culture of impunity are the ones actually who are supposed to be the custodians of these laws.
Anything that happened overnight in terms of authorities issuing warnings or police visibility?
Not really. They did not say anything apart from pledging to offer security to protesters and also warning people against occupying protected areas. But there has been some agitation online, and also yesterday evening, some of the protesters had held a service, an interdenominational and inter-religious service outside the Kenya National Archives in anticipation of the protest. And we understand, as I said, that some of them actually did spend the night within the town so that they can be able to beat the police cordon and be at the city center and do the agitation as they have pledged to do so.
In terms of solidarity from other parts of the region, have you received any, as reporters, have you heard anything in the media? And even if other parts of the continent will be traveling to join in these protests from people from outside of Kenya?
Actually, as you're aware, in the region, the most vibrant media is usually found in Kenya, and so far we have not seen any kind of support in either in the legacy or in the social media platforms on any kind of support that the Gen Z protesters are going to get. However, there is the moral support where Kenyan Gen Zs are being urged to take responsibility, to take charge of the protest, and to ensure that they come out in large numbers. And this is usually coming from Tanzania and Uganda, which, especially Tanzania, which seems to be in some crosshairs of Kenyan Gen Z protesters after the arrest of Kenyan activists in that country, and also the Ugandan who was also incarcerated together with Kenyans in Tanzania. So there is that aspect of moral support, but not any pledge by any entity or individuals to join the protests in Nairobi, in the Nairobi streets, because of the fact that the democratic space within the region is shrinking, and there are these allegations of extrajudicial killings and unlawful incarceration of anybody who seems to be opposing the sitting government. And this comes in the wake of the Ugandan president pledging to vie for another seat, for another term in State House, almost 40 years after he took power. I'm talking about President Yoweri Museveni of Uganda.
How do you expect these protests, Alex, to pan out as far as social media posts are concerned, especially given the backdrop of all these bloggers that seem to be disappearing, two who have died? Actually,
as it has always been, we usually talk about peaceful protests, but it degenerates into something different, leading to killings and deaths. And we definitely know that this is going to be the case. And that aside, we will also be expecting the aftermath to continue, and this will be in the name and shape of more abductions and, if possibly, killings. But so far, what we understand is that the police, due to the recent backlash that they have endured, could be more restrained in terms of confronting protesters, but they will definitely go very hard on those people behind the protests, and those who might stand out after the protest today. But we do not expect anything different beyond injuries, beyond confrontations, and also possibly even the killings. And that aside, remember that we had also done an expose on the possible use of goons, as we know them here, but these are just criminal gangs. And that could also play out in the whole matrix, because we know that usually politicians in Kenya use criminal groups as counter protest measures to curb the intensity and the issues that are being raised by those who are taken to the streets. So those are the things that are going to be happening, and we cover them as they come.
Thank you so much again for your time, Alex, and we'll check in again tomorrow possibly.
Thank you very much and have a good day.
You too. Alex Kiarie, our correspondent in Kenya, joining us live from the capital, Nairobi, in anticipation of protest action there for today.